Um, Now, also, these phenomena, these particles coming in, affect a lot of things on Earth. We had a ham radio operator on a few cruises ago that said this really disturbed their transmissions. Also, the power grid. There was an outage in the Quebec power grid in '89, completely wiped out the grid for the day. Spacecraft operations, and again, radio signals that pass off the ionosphere. And no big surprise, it affects observers of the aurora. Who would have thought? So this is what we have here. We have solar flares, coronal mass ejections coming off here, creating the solar wind of particles. Hits the magnetic shield here on Earth and is drawn into the north and south poles, directed into the poles. That's why we're going, in our case, the farther north we go, the greater probability as well. The higher concentration and the greater activity. So as I was saying, '89, geomagnetic storm, wiped out Quebec's power grid. The colors. So green is indicative of oxygen and red of nitrogen. So this has to do with the height at which the particles are striking the atmosphere and the gases that they're exciting up there. Again, green is oxygen and red nitrogen. The other factor is that our eyes are more sensitive to green than other wavelengths. So that's why in a lot of these shots you'll see a lot of green, a lot of red, sometimes just these amazing mixtures of color as well. The palette's pretty incredible. So artistically phenomenal, and each time unique. Great. Again, October 11th, 2024, I'll show you a graph on that in a little bit. Some of the highest activity in 500 years. That's why probably you or some of your friends might have seen this here on Earth. A lot of activity, beautiful images coming, even as far south as the US. I have a friend, I think even in Houston, he was seeing these, which is amazing. So the greater activity, the farther that's going to come south from the North Pole, and of course from the south, the farther that's going to travel north for those folks down under. There's also a scale of storm activity going from 1 to 5. The most extreme is 5, as seen here. So 1 is minor activity on the sun. G2 is moderate, G3 strong, G4 and G5, these are severe storms on the sun. This is another indicator of what the activity is going to be like. So we have the KP index and also this right here, geomagnetic storm index right here. Okay, so this is what's happening. So this is a very typical day from a while ago. So this is what you'll see if you go to that site. And again, this is an NOAA 3-day website. This is one of the best sites out there for this. And I'll show a graph like this. Again, we have activity of 2 up to 4 or 5 here, green and yellow, so moderate activity, as shown by the graph below. This then is what we were encountering in 2024, and that's why we had these amazing sightings, these amazing displays, because here we've got activity 8 and 9. So a lot of activity on the sun, and and that travels to Earth. And here is today's chart. So this I shot just this morning. Pretty moderate, 3, 4, and also this is a very good site as well. That's one of the links that were in the previous screen. Let me know afterward if you'd like me to go back to that. So tonight there's some hope. So tonight, the 13th, 2 to 5 a.m. KP5. So this is a pretty good spike, and there's some chance. Again, there are never any guarantees, and I know we have some early ports of call, so it's hard to go on up there so late, 2 in the morning, and then get up early the next morning. Can be a bit of a challenge. But tonight, between 2 and 5 a.m. in our region, we do have a fairly good spike in KP5. So that gives us some chance, especially if we have clear skies. So if it's a clear night tonight, about 2 or 3 a.m., it's worth a shot. No guarantees, but it's absolutely worth a shot. This is another graph that you'll see on the NOAA site, which shows you just another depiction of what it's like in the north and south poles and the activity there. Again, green being lowest, yellow, and up to red. Now, of course, as the more activity, the farther south it spreads. So when you have a lot, KP5 to 9, it's spreading farther and farther south. Again, this is why it was seen so well in the United States in 2024, as that activity spread south. And of course, the converse is true coming up from the South Pole. As it spreads farther north, the more intense the activity. Okay, here's some apps. Now, I'm not sponsored by anyone, so I'm shooting you straight. These are just a few that I